look, I'm getting these really funny heartbeats. Oh, that's anxiety.
Other aspects of lifestyle which may be relevant.
Be patient with yourself and just build up gradually.
So I just needed to have them work with me.
There's a whole bunch of cardiomyopathies.
Benefits of doing genetic testing.
Take their own heart monitor. There's better types of fat.
Try and find a cure for inherited heart muscle diseases.
Right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rita. So what a privilege speaking to you today, all about me. I live to the south of Bristol in a small village with my husband, extremely large dog, and we have a son who lives in London. I used to work in the medical industry for my sins, and after I gave up that, I started volunteering for Bristol Zoo a lot, and that was actually the last time I did any public speaking, and I have to say on that occasion it was a bit rubbish because I was giving a talk to a really mixed group of toddlers and vet students about reptiles, and I'd made a huge mistake of playing with some ferrets just before I picked this snake up called Fluffy, and Fluffy decided that it wanted to go into a death grip around my arm, thinking that I might be a bit of ferret somewhere around. So after dealing with that, talking to you lot today, easy. So, welcome to fellow members of the Cardiomyopathy Club. It's a big club. 1 in 250 people belong to it. I've been a member since I was born, but I only recently found out. And most of us even get free lifetime membership, so, top club to be in. It's not one I'd heard of or particularly wanted to join, but like a lot of you, I'm in it, so I want to make the best of it. So, I've been asked to talk today a little bit about my diagnosis and I guess my attitude to living with cardiomyopathy. I will say that everybody's journey is very different. You can get diagnosed very fast and furious in A&E after having a cardiac arrest. My journey was completely the opposite of that. And I guess sometimes how you first get diagnosed may actually affect what your attitude to cardiomyopathy is. I think the most important thing I'm trying to hang on to is to maintain as much of the person that I was before diagnosis as I am after diagnosis. So that's one of the things that I find very important. So way back in 2009, I first went to my GP complaining of cardiomyopathy symptoms. I didn't know they were cardiomyopathy symptoms. I knew I was feeling breathless, I was tired, I was a bit dizzy. Significantly, I guess, I wasn't suffering from chest pain, which kind of confused matters. But I did have a really strong family history of heart problems. Both parents had heart problems. 3 grandparents all dropped down fairly early, probably heart problems. One of them, I have to say, was particularly dramatic. One grandmother came to look after me, second day of birth, picked me up and had what was a probable cardiac arrest on top of me. As you can see, I wasn't a particularly pretty baby, but now, a lot of the symptoms that I presented with are pretty general things, and I can understand why they're often mistaken for other stuff, like asthma or something like that. And I do think it's a good thing to remember that GPs who you go for your valuable 10-minute slot, they are general physicians. They're not cardiac specialists. And I think it is easily misunderstood, particularly in the initial diagnoses. So the first diagnosis I got, 2009, was, you're menopausal, which I was. So I went on HRT, but found that, that stopped the hot flushes, but it didn't help with any of the other problems that I was having. So I kept going back. I still felt bad. Still went back and saying, look, I'm getting these really funny heartbeats. Oh, that's anxiety relating to the menopause. Go on anti-anxiety drugs. So I tried those, and they did absolutely nothing. So, you know, over 10 years, I kept going back with various bits and bobs. And they did run blood tests and ECGs, which were kind of a bit abnormal, but, you know, nothing untoward. So, you know, I just kept failing worse and worse. I knew that there was something wrong with me. I just didn't know what it was and couldn't kind of express what it was. I also kind of complicated matters for myself quite a lot. We kept emigrating and returning to Australia. Very poor decision makers. You know, that complicated matters. And also, as a lot of us are getting older, I went down with other stuff as well. I got hypertension and sleep apnea. So, you know, it was confusing. So, in Australia, 2 weeks before I returned to the UK, a GP out there kind of had cottoned on that there was something actually wrong with me and referred me to a cardiologist who ran various tests and, you know, was quite concerned and sent me home to the UK with a letter saying, you know, you should really hot-foot it to a consultant. So I went to my GP and said, oh, look, you know, look at this. Can you refer me to a consultant? And he said, well, we don't really run those tests over here, and you don't meet referral guidelines. So, no. So at that stage, I decided to go private. And yes, after Holter monitors and genetic testing and MRIs, I tested positive for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, genetic form. So that was pretty much 10 years after I'd first presented with symptoms and, you know, was trying to get something sorted. That was March 2020. So if you remember what else was going on at that time, it was not the best time to get diagnosed with a chronic heart problem. But bizarrely, I was actually quite happy. There was actually something wrong with me. It wasn't in my head. And I really felt that now something could be done to help sort me out. I felt in a safer place the day after I was diagnosed than the day before. I really felt, you know, we could move forward. So I was put on drugs to help with the arrhythmias. They slowed my heart rate down to about 32 beats a minute, so that wasn't brilliant. And I fairly soon got put on a ICD and a pacemaker, and I'm paced most of the time, help bring my heart rate up. And, you know, the ICD's sitting there as a little guardian angel to watch out for problems. So most importantly, I think I could get the right support and I could get my son tested genetically, who's negative. Now, I know that this kind of happy reaction is not going to be the same for a lot of you. You know, it can be absolutely be like being hit by a truck. And I've seen it from that side as well, because halfway through this process, my husband got diagnosed with a blood cancer. And, you know, as a member of the patient support team, you know, it's very hard. And I think probably, you know, as a carer, it's important to look after yourself as well. And there's probably quite a few carers here. So, you know, I don't think I particularly looked after myself. I felt guilty. It was him who was sick and not me. And I think you have to remember what it's like on the aeroplane safety briefings. You know, make sure you put your own oxygen mask on before helping others, because the better you are, the better state you're in, the better help you can give. There we go. So I took a proactive approach. And now maybe having worked in the medical industry previously influenced that. But I wanted to find out as much as possible about cardiomyopathy. So after initial... That's nothing to do with me. I'm not touching it, honestly. You know, you try to go down the Google route, but it's awful. It's scary. It can be rubbish. It can be outdated. It can, you know, just be based on different patients to you. So I hit Cardiomyopathy UK fairly early on, and I rang up Cardiomyopathy UK. I rang the helpline. I read the information. I watched all the YouTubes, joined the support groups, I soaked it all up. And I really felt that the more information I had, the more control I had over my condition. I wasn't just passively accepting what was given to me. I was actually questioning it and saying, hey, what about this? You know, I want a better solution than this. So I have now left my large multi-site GP practice, which initially missed my hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, and slowed everything down. And I found a great small practice with a really knowledgeable, supportive doctor who knows my backstory. So whenever I go in, I'm not wasting valuable consultation time saying, well, you know, I've got this condition. I don't know if you've heard of it. You know, he knows me. And I would really suggest that going through that trying to get that continuity of care is really important, and keep trying if you can't think of things that are right. Other things that I did, take my pacemaker. The clinic had set me at fairly standard settings, I think based on a sedentary 85-year-old. But I wanted to, I wanted to work in the garden. I wanted to push my wheelbarrow around the place. And, they were kind of reluctant to do stuff. So I started researching about how pacemakers work. Really complicated, I have to say, really complicated. But, I managed to get enough so I could have a conversation with them and kind of talk about rate response and stuff like that. And they did change things. But I don't think, if I hadn't have questioned it, that anything would have been changed. And I may have felt, oh, well, I can't get in the garden and push my wheelbarrow. I can't walk. And I would have got stuck in that place and not, kept looking forwards. So the more knowledge you have, the better you can communicate with your healthcare team, and the more you can work as a really well-oiled cog in part of that team. And I think it's really important, to do your part as part of the team. So when I go to appointments, I like to be prepared. I make notes in symptom diary, which is really useful, particularly if things have changed, such as medication or surgery. I've got hypertension, so I keep blood pressure readings and give them averages, so you can quickly see patterns and not kind of waste time. And I put it all down on a card and, bring clinic letters and things like that as well in case they're not to hand. Everything is to do with maximising that valuable consultation time, I think. So planning what you want to achieve from the visit. Maybe it's just information, but I always like to go in with a plan. It might be I want a referral, I might want a drug change. You have to go in very open-minded, though, because the people you're seeing are professionals, and there may be really valid reasons why what you think you want as a patient isn't actually the right thing for you. So, be polite, work with them, but if there's something that you really think is wrong, then stand up for yourself and, advocate for yourself, I think. But be part of the team. It's important that you work as part of the team. But at the end of the day, you do know your body best, I think. So, slightly weird analogy here. I'm a driver of a racing car, a Formula One racing car. I've got, the car's my body, the engine's my heart, and I want to maximise my performance. So there's certain things as a driver that I have to do to maximise that performance. I have to drive in a considered way so as not to damage the car. I don't want to over-rev it or do anything wrong. But I need to communicate really effectively with the large team that is looking after that car. The team directors, the consultant, you've got the specialist nurses and the pacing team kind of tweaking your engines. You've got the GP looking after your tyre pressures. And you've got your supporters and family in your stands. So it is really important that you kind of work out how to communicate to all of those team members who are looking after your body. The better you can communicate, I think, the better the result you're going to get. So then there's living with this thing. I feel I have a finite but variable amount of energy each day, and I kind of want to allocate it in the best way. So the first thing to do is kind of look at the stuff that you've got to do. You've got to do work, you've got to do your household chores, you've got commitments, but you've also got the things that put the smile on your face. And it's really important to remember the things that put the smile on your face and not forget about that in the whole process. So I like walking with friends. So we go on weekly walks, we go on walking weekends in hostels and holidays, we stay up way too late, we drink too many cocktails, but we do walk up the mountains. And as I kind of started feeling worse, I found it harder to keep up doing all of that stuff. So I had to work out ways of how to do it. I still want to get out there and have fun. So I'm always the first to bed. I don't drink so many cocktails, but I might find a way to get up to the top of the hill because I can't walk it anymore. I might get a bus or get somebody to drop me off at the top, but I'm going to get up to the top and enjoy the view and do something that puts a smile on your face. It's important to do that. I used to do Pilates, now I do Tai Chi because I used to get awfully dizzy doing those horrible downward dogs. So, Tai Chi's all standing up, much better. It's thinking of things that are outside the box that, you can still do and, enjoy. And there are going to be days when I've got my body battery power is at 0 and I can't get off the sofa. And we're all going to get those. And I think the important thing is not to get stuck in that rut and think you can't do things. If you're planning stuff that you enjoy, it's really important. So I've started doing some volunteering with these guys, Cardiomyopathy UK. We do a bit of heart-to-heart peer support. We've got a stand that we've got at the local hospital where we go and, you know, try and grab cardiomyopathy patients and have a chat to them. And I can honestly say that I get as much out of the volunteering, probably more, than I'm actually giving. So if anybody is interested in volunteering, I think, you know, have a word with some people or have a look and see what might suit you, because it really is valuable. It's a great time just to talk to other people who are in the same situation as you. And finally, you know what most impressed me about Cardiomyopathy UK, and that's that they actually asked me to speak today, just an average member of the Cardiomyopathy Club. You know, and I really think that it shows how much focus, how much patient focus the charity has. You know, all of the, you know, encouraging the research and providing brilliant support with us, a fantastic support nurses who you can ring up and, you know, put your silly questions to. You know, the really well, accurate, compiled information that you know is not going to lead you down the wrong path. You know, it's a really, really useful thing. So I'm really looking forward to this conference. You know, it's a great chance to get some new stuff that will help, you know, empower us more as patients and live our lives to the maximum. You know, meet some other people who are in the same boat as you. And I think there's a good free lunch as well, a fantastic breakfast. So enjoy. Thank you.